Let's talk a little bit about who you are before we get into the conversation. So who are you and what do you do?
Okay, well, I'm an entrepreneur, and I have a lifestyle magazine, a digital and print lifestyle magazine called Dekad Lifestyle. Decade is the phonetic. We spell it the phonetic way, so it's spelled like it's written on my shirt right here.
Dope.
Yeah.
You know, the whole time I've been saying Dekad.
It's actually a play on words. It's pronounced decade. We spell it the phonetic way, so it can have a little bit of an edge.
Right.
So it's still, it's still professional, but we still have like some swag to it. You know what I mean?
That's so dope.
So we make custom clothing as well, and we do marketing as well. And now I most recently started a business from my hometown of Antigua, Caribbean, and I named it Alkaline Farms because what we do is we're bringing in alkaline herbs, natural herbs, and such as sea moss, dandelion, nettle, neem, sarsi, lemongrass, etc. And we're also making holistic beauty products such as rose water. Like we make, actually, let me give you.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you one of the samples.
Oh my God! Gotta do this.
Let me show you. So this is actually one of our samples here.
Oh wow!
We didn't start the packaging yet. This is a sample, and it's made from these rose petals here. And we only use the rose petals and alkaline water, and we boil it. And that's it. So we're just taking a holistic approach to everything, and we're doing things totally the opposite way of, the way most big corporations in beauty or in health are doing it. They add so many different things that's unnecessary.
Right.
So plain ingredients such as just alkaline water and rose petals is the type of approach we're taking. And even amid this crisis, I've helped a lot of people. I have so many testimonials of people that have been starting to feel better after taking the healing herbs. So I take 6 herbs every day. Consists of moringa, nettle, dandelion, sarsi, lemongrass, and neem. And those herbs together can keep your body and your immune system strong enough to fight any pathogens that may come across your way, anything like that. And also sea moss as well. Sea moss, everybody knows about that. It has 92 minerals of the 102 essential minerals your body needs daily to maintain optimum health or to achieve optimum health. So with those 2 things, with the sea moss and the mixed herbs, I've been helping a lot of people amid this crisis, especially right now. I'm in New York City where it's
we're the epicenter. Yep.
Epicenter. So I've been helping a lot of people amid this, and it's a crazy thing because I really just started the company of Alkaline Farms, and we really didn't even touch the surface yet. Like we don't even have packaging yet. So I've been just selling it raw, like packaged in Ziplocs and it's kind of cool really to see in this day and age, you know what I mean? Things sold so raw and people actually buying into this sort of underground, because it's not mainstream at all. Like the average person is going to be like, does it really even work?
Right.
But if you do the research and you go to your local market or your health food store, you see the same things that holistic doctors sell or preach about. It's just packaged more mainstreamly, and it's in like your yogi teas, and it's in these, but it's not in the best form. It's also a lot of additives and stuff like that. So I brought that up. I brought Alkaline Farms up because
the conversation we're about to have.
To get into about 5G.
Yeah. So let me just set us up because I think we know why we are having this conversation, but my audience doesn't, right? So Everyone, we now have an official introduction to Hakim Dubois. Dubois. Okay. Hakim Dubois. He's an entrepreneur in both the lifestyle brand and the agriculture, or let's say food brand, right? So that's really dope. So part of what triggered this conversation is that I've actually been getting sent a lot of videos and information about the connection between 5G and our current, global situation, which is a global pandemic, also known as coronavirus. And I want to first have a conversation about just exploring what 5G is and why people like perhaps yourselves may think that it is perhaps leading to some of the things that we're experiencing in today's times, right? So let's take it step by step. We'll probably only tackle 4 questions. Depending on like what the feedback is to this video, we might need to do a second part. But let's just go to the basic level, right? To you, what is 5G?
I mean, to me, what 5G is it's just like any other technology, right? Like when you present a new form of technology to the public, it usually enhances their lifestyle, right? So that's the purpose of any new form of technology, right? So 5G, to my knowledge, is basically just a faster version of internet speed, because prior to that we had 4G and you had 3G,
right?
And before that was like dial up,
right? right. So
but
different generations of connectivity, right?
Exactly. But for me, 3G was a little slow. I admit that. 4G or LTE is fast enough, in my opinion. You don't have to wait a whole hour for something moderate size to download on your computer or your mobile device. It's done pretty fast. I mean, would you agree?
Yes, fairly.
Yeah. So what I want to get into is that what other, oh, 1 second, my TV started to act up. 1 second.
Yeah, sure. All right, folks. So bear with me. Bridget's line, we get the nitty gritty. You kind of see all of it. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But, so for me, 5G, the dangers far more outweigh the positive. From 5G. I mean, it does so many things that are detrimental to your health, as far as the radiation levels. They've been known to cause cancer. This is by scientists. This is coming from scientists. It damages your DNA. It damages the melatonin levels. It damages your eyes. Damages your skin. I mean, I can go on, but first, before I even go on, I want to know.
Well, let me stop you here. Can you send me the link so that I can put it in the notes for my audience? Yeah. Not now. When you get a chance, I'll put this up. Yeah. Definitely. So we want that proof that scientifically has been tied to all of these.
Yeah, I definitely want the public and the viewers to actually see for themselves the notes, where they can actually, the work is, what I'm claiming is cited, so they can go and look at it for themselves and do their own research. And it's really bad. I mean, it's cell metabolism disruption, disruption of brain glucose metabolism, increased blood barrier permeability, the DNA single and double strand breaks. I mean, the list. I mean, a lot of popular scientists have a top 10 list of reasons to be concerned about 5G. But what I want to know from you, though, is I know this is an interview for me, but what I want to know from you is what besides the internet capabilities and the internet speed, what positive outlook do we what are some of the positive things from 5G that you because you're in favor of it, right?
Right.
Yeah,
It's not that I'm necessarily in favor or against, but I see it from a completely different side. So, which I think it's really, I'm really glad we're having this conversation. You're coming from this from a perspective of someone who's a food and like health entrepreneur. I'm coming from this from the perspective of someone who's in data and data science, right? And what I know to be true is that what unleashed this data revolution that we're seeing is higher speed and connectivity, right? Which allows us to be able to process the data that we have. So for example, at the corporate level, someone like Walmart is getting perhaps 1 million plus transactions every day. At this point, with the kind of traffic that you're seeing at their stores, they're probably getting more. So on the data science side, you get all of this information in your quote unquote data lake, and then you need to take it to be processed and analyzed by your business analyst, by your data scientist, in order to make business decisions. When we're talking about like huge amounts of data, we need way more connectivity than what we're able to do with 4G LTE. So let me give an even more baseline example. You came to see my data science project where I analyzed about 10,000 data points from Sephora. Sephora's website, right? It took me 3 days to be able to build a recommendation algorithm that would allow me to then be able to say, this is the type of makeup that's best for Black people's skin, right? Or just to be able to even scraping the data alone took 3 days, right? So to even process it took even longer. So when we're looking at data at scale, when we're looking at where the world is headed, there needs to be increased capability and connectivity to allow us to be able to make the models and the leaps and signs that we want to make in this space. So on the one hand, right, like, and I know on the business side that these things are things that are positive. I can make a strong case for that because, for example, being able to sell your business online and people being able to see it, or at the level of just Instagram marketing, Instagram has built a very robust recommendation model on its explore page where you can basically, if people like sea moss, they're very likely to come across your product, right? If you're using the right hashtags, if people are engaging, etc., they're very much likely to see your product, right? So that ties into them being able to build this algorithm that's consistently being fed data to make sure that it models people's preferences accurately. So those are some of the benefits on the business side to why, or as a data scientist, why I think we need even more and faster connectivity than even 5G, right? So I know I'm looking at videos on YouTube where scientists are talking about like quantum computing. So if people think that 5G is like crazy, we're about to go into quantum computing, which is going to even further accelerate kind of the numbers that we're seeing with connectivity. But I agree with you at the same time that there are real health implications, right? What I don't like is people tying the health implications to kind of like fear mongering for this time that we're in. And what can you say about that?
About the fear mongering?
Yeah, it's like, okay, out of nowhere, nobody was talking about it. And then like within the last 2 weeks, I'm getting mad videos about you actually have been talking to me about 4G for some time. Right. That's why I wanted to talk to you, because you've been on this for some time. It's not like you're just hopping on the bandwagon, but now it just seems like everywhere, WhatsApp, Instagram, everyone is talking about like, 5G and like its potential ties to this moment. What do you think about that?
Because you have so many, you have a lot of activists, right? That the sheep, or shall I say the, the sheep, or let's say the people who are hypnotized and brainwashed by the media and everything, they call these people conspiracy theorists. But you have a lot of people that are trying to awake the sheep, and they're activists. You have some activists that are actually on ground, but then you also have some virtual activists that are really famous, like David Icke. I don't know if you heard of him.
No.
You should definitely Google him. Okay. Yeah, David Icke. You should put that in the footnotes as well. David Icke.
Let me write this down.
Yes,
Go ahead.
David ICKE. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
David Icke, and there's so many others, but David Icke is one of them who's been preaching and warning the public about the future of 5G and the towers that are being 5G towers that are being put up.
Right.
Put it up. Sorry, that are being
Right.
put up and
Mm-hmm.
implemented in all the major cities across the globe.
Mm-hmm.
And he's warning him, and people alike are warning the public and trying to wake them up on the dangers of it. And I think now that we've reached this global crisis now, it's just been amplified.
Okay.
Times a million, because now it's in everyone's eye now. It's on everyone's radar, especially because we're at home and we're quarantined.
Okay.
And we don't, obviously, we can have other things to do on our leisure, but one of the main things that I think your average individual is doing, especially if they're affected, is doing some research on it. So then these videos pop up, and they're like, wow, okay, maybe this has something to do.
Do you believe that this has something to do with 5G?
Well, I will say this, right? I'm not sure because it's so soon.
Right.
It's so soon. But look, I will say this. A lot of the symptoms that two of the symptoms of which coronavirus carriers are experiencing are in relation to radiation exposure, like loss of smell and loss of taste. So that struck a nerve to me. I because I can't say whether it's too soon to say whether, it's too soon for even an expert to say whether that is the direct reason is because of 5G. But we still, it's a fair hypothesis, because those are the two negative effects that you get from radiation. Even chemo patients, they get loss of smell and loss of taste, due
so
to that.
You don't believe kind of like the genesis theory that people are putting out there, that it came from China through transmission, human transmission, or humans getting it through that transmission somehow? You don't believe that? Or you're still kind of skeptical?
I'm not sure if it's from the eating of the animals, but I do know for sure that is something that, they practice over there. And a lot of times, especially, I have friends of all walks of life and all nationalities. A lot of Asians get, they feel like that's something derogatory, or they feel attacked, when I'm not sure why, because it's not a fact that they all indulge in that, but it is a fact that in some areas of China and other areas of Asia that they do indulge in eating animals. So it's not really a racist thing to say. It's a fact. It becomes racist when you begin to poke fun, or you begin to blame them for the start of something without overwhelming evidence that it's a direct connection with them. You know what I mean? Because this just came out of nowhere. There hasn't been any substantial evidence that it actually indeed did come from Wuhan, China. I think it's been a plot to kind of use them as a scapegoat, as America does a lot of times. Not to go against America, but I don't want to get in trouble here.
Right. Don't say anything that's gonna incriminate you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. But no, this is freedom of speech. So why we still have it?
Right.
But like I'm just saying, America has a history of blaming. They like to use people as scapegoats for certain diseases, even in Africa, even in the past.
Right.
They've it's been documented that science has patents for some of these diseases. So it's proven that some of these diseases are man-made.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So,
I definitely hear you on that. So then let me kind of bring us to this next question, right? So we've kind of talked about your viewpoint on what 5G is and its detriments, right? I've
Well, some of it's
shared
detriment.
some of it, right?
I still
I've
have some
shared.
others.
Please give it to me. I'll put it all in the
Okay.
notes. But
Okay.
I've shared kind of like what I believe the case for it in the business and tech world. So where do we go from here? Do you think there's some kind of middle ground between like active, especially like health activists, maybe human rights activists? Is there some middle ground to which we can navigate the space of needing more computing power, and respecting human lives and human bodies, and I think human energies? Where do you think we go from here?
I think, I mean, where I'd like to see things go is for people to, the republic of each nation,
Right.
to actually have a vote on certain things before they just happen. A lot of these things, they just happen and they affect millions and even billions of people without them having even a say so in it. So a lot of countries that are living in a democracy is a false democracy, because they really don't have a say in things that they're directly affected in, which is their health. One of the major things of major detriments of 5G is depletion of the ozone layer, which is already depleted. So once this happens, and who's to say what's next after 5G? It's just going to continue to get worse. So I mean, there are people who plan for the next 30 years, the next 40 years, but well, I mean, what planning is being conducted? It's
So
really just planning of for me, from my perspective, is really just planning on how to capitalize and get more money, instead of how to save the earth and its humanity.
So what I hear you saying is perhaps there's space for both business, tech interests, and human environmental interests, but people need to be aware and people need to have a voice in how things go, right? So it's not that you're
Definitely.
against 5G and higher computing. You just wish that people had a choice in the matter.
Of course, they should. I mean, their health is going to be directly affected. So you should have a say in that. But unfortunately, even in the most freest of countries, its citizens have no say.
Right.
It's being put up now. I mean,
right. I think what we're gonna see after this pandemic, it's hard to have any conversation outside of this pandemic. But perhaps what we'll see after this pandemic is we will have a huge national, at least in the U.S., conversation about 5G. I think we'll have congressional hearings on it, because now it's kind of exploded into the public space. And after COVID, what we're going to see perhaps is a lot of conversations about public health in all areas, which is going to bring this up, right? So definitely. I think there will be opportunities for us to have the conversation that you want to have on a national and perhaps on a global level. So I like to keep these like kind of short and sweet, getting to the point. Cool. Yeah, and I think we've kind of touched on, a bunch of, the topics that I wanted to hit on. And now I get where you're coming from way more than I did when we just had those conversations.
Those comments back and forth, and then also the conversation.
But I hope you get what I'm saying too. Yeah.
No, I definitely get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, I still don't see how it solves any major problems. As far as our well-being, as far as having really crucial solutions to our problems.
Okay, so let me give you one. Let me give you one.
Money.
No, not money. Let me give you one, right? So like the field of data science is being used in all industries, right? To quickly accelerate learning and modeling. So what you're actually using data science for is right now to understand the data that's coming from the pandemic, for example, to be able to model and predict where, we're going to have the next epicenters. All of that is data science. When we look at hospital data and being able to segment which populations are the highest risk, who needs what kind of what kind of people are most predisposed to this, all of that is data science. So I think what makes data science scary is that it sure, the computing power, 5G, quantum could have, tremendous health effects on us, but it would sort of answer it would sort of provide solutions for the problems that it's going to create, which is scary. You get what I'm saying? Like, data science does solve a lot of problems, like in the health space, in terms of even them being able to do, find a vaccine for this. And I don't know how, you know, as a health activist, I don't know how you feel about vaccines, but even in terms of being able
I'm totally against vaccines.
Okay, so I knew this would come up.
Yes, I'm totally against vaccines.
Oh my gosh, I need to have you on to talk about vaccines, because like there are people driving me nuts about like being anti-vaccine. We'll talk about that.
That's another conversation. We definitely need to talk about it though.
Right.
Because I hear certain things, you know, I don't know how true it is about vaccines maybe in the future being mandated, and that's scary because I'm totally against it.
Okay,
and that goes back to you know, our rights being taken away again.
Exactly.
in the free world. You know, you have some places in this world where, you know, they have no rights, so they have to, you know, abide by the rules or the orders in that's in that case, you know. But you know, little by little, I feel like
it's being eroded. Yeah,
like it's the constitutional rights are being slowly taken away.
Right.
And you know, who knows, it might be mandated in order to get your passport, you have to get a vaccine.
You see, but I'm not against that. I'm not against that. But
we're in two different worlds.
We look at this so differently.
Not only with occupational, but also regional, because you know, for many years, to even go to Africa, you know, you have to get you needed vaccines, or your doctor told you need to take these pills.
Right. And so you're acclimated to that. Yeah, we're acclimated to do that.
So it's becoming normalcy.
Right.
For a lot of you guys, sadly. But I'm totally against vaccines.
You know, I want to no, don't give it away. I want us to have like a real debate, a real conversation about this, just like we just had about 5G. So I'm going to let you have like a few closing remarks. Like, I think this has been dope. We don't necessarily agree. I think we still have maintained our viewpoints, but we agreed that the way forward is to have a national or global conversation to give people a chance to decide on which way we're going to go. Right? There are pros and cons to both sides. Now, what are we going to choose? Right. Okay, so do you want to close it out? Do you have any final thoughts on this topic to share as we close out?
We're also going back to the current events at hand, which is the COVID-19. I don't think, like, not to reiterate myself, but I don't think that 5G is in direct connection to COVID. But I do think that with 5G towers being around and being implemented, I do think that it does have more detrimental effects to COVID carriers, like its effects on bacteria resistance and things, and it also depletes the cells in your body. There is a connection with it, that if someone is exposed to 5G, that they can become more susceptible to getting very ill or even dying because of 5G exposure. So I don't think, you know, 5G is the cause of people getting sick, but rather if they're a COVID carrier and they're exposed to 5G, it just makes their chances a lot more slim.
This is very interesting. We'll have to look at the data, because what people are saying on WhatsApp informally is that, you know, the places that have the highest kind of casualties from the pandemic are places where more developed worlds, where we might have 5G technology, etc.
Like New York.
Whereas like in Africa, where we don't have that technology yet.
Yeah, you don't see it around. See,
it's there, but we're not seeing those numbers. I'm not agreeing, but I'm just saying the numbers have to come out so that I can look at what's.
Point. No, you made a very, very good point. You just added to the point I was making.
Yo, folks, I'm not on his side. No, I love this, but I'm just saying that I see where you're coming from, and I really appreciate that. So Hakim, I'm going to close this out, but I know I'm going to have you back on my channel, because I really love that we can kind of have different perspectives, but kind of, you know, get to the middle of where we think the best way forward should be, right? And please send me some sea moss. I need to like get
yes.
my.
Yeah, no, seriously, I'm gonna send you some sea moss.
Okay, I've been hearing so much about it. I can't wait to try it. Yeah, I'm gonna text you so that we talk about it.
Definitely.
Yo, all the
best.
Right,
thanks for having me.
Your businesses are gonna blow up. This is the time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Hakim. Bye.
All right, bye.
Let's like rewind. Once I learn how to do the video effects, my videos are gonna be, off the chain. But until I can, I'm going to do the voice effects.
Okay.
Let's